for me is inspiration. I mean, going totally out of the reality you're living and being way more powerful than you are, and so you can feel emotion that you don't feel in your reality.
Healthier to acknowledge
Yeah.
that we have the capacity for evil
Yes.
and choose not to be,
Yeah.
than it is to think that we're just not evil.
Yeah.
Then that's much more dangerous. But if you want to sell on a global stage, where you're competing against literally every guitar maker alive,
Yes.
then you have to
To have your own voice.
have your own voice.
Today's episode of Life with Strings Attached was filmed on location in the workshop of Giulio Negrini Guitars in Stabio, Switzerland. Giulio Negrini is an Italian master luthier trained in the Cremonese style after the likes of Stradivarius, Guarneri and Amati. He describes himself as a modern guitar maker and player whose skills as a hard rock guitarist help him to improve the electric guitar's comfort and playability. Giulio Negrini Guitars have been a part of the NAMM Show's Boutique Guitar Showcase every year since its inception in 2017, where he has continued to distinguish himself by raising his standard year after year. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Giulio, which took some very interesting, unexpected turns along the way. I hope that you'll enjoy it as much as I did.
Giulio, thank you for being on Life with Strings Attached.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I am happy to be here in Switzerland. Just in Switzerland.
Just barely.
The Italian section.
Barely.
Very, very close. But Switzerland nonetheless.
Yeah.
How long have you been here now?
4 years now.
4 years.
Before I was in Lausanne.
Yes.
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I feel this way. And we've talked about it many times, but because you and I were together when we realized the world was shutting down.
Yes.
Together on La Clément.
Yeah.
Right?
We were in Vevey.
In Vevey,
Yes. We wanted to go to the bar, right, to get a drink, and they told us, hey guys, this is the last day the bar will still be open.
Yeah.
They are shutting us off.
We didn't know that at first. We were just told to wait outside.
Yeah.
And there were tables, but they said we have a limit because of the situation.
That's right.
In
We
Italy.
didn't.
And we waited outside for 5 minutes. You were happy. You had a cigarette.
Yes.
And it was fine.
Back then,
5 or 10 minutes. And they let us in. And after they gave us a few free drinks and then a free dessert, we said,
yes.
Why so generous?
Exactly.
And that's when they said we have to close for, I think it was 30 days. They
Yes.
said all the bars are closed for 1 month in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And that was the longest month on record.
Yeah. It was a 2-year month.
Or at least in our life anyways.
Yes. And you have to flew back. I mean, you need to visit other guitar makers. You had a plan.
I had a month of scheduling.
Yeah.
My next stop was Lyon, a day off eating fine French food.
Yeah. And it was your second one? I mean, you went to Pagelli first?
No. I had the only guitar maker I had visited on the European part of my trip.
Yeah.
Was Relish. Now formerly Relish Guitars.
Yes, exactly.
Because they didn't make it. And actually, when I was at Relish, the owner was interrupted by one of the employees, letting him know that on Monday he had just been called up to the Swiss. I want to say Swiss Guard, but not Swiss Guard. It's the like the American National Guard for Switzerland. I don't know what that's called. The reserves. And they have to control the borders more.
Yeah.
And that should have been a bit of a clue for me.
Yeah,
but I thought, I'm not staying in Switzerland. I'm going to be in France by Sunday, no big deal. And it's only Italy and now Switzerland. They're touching each other. I'll just head further north and I won't have a problem. And then, sure enough, every country in the world was shutting down.
Yes.
And
one by one.
And then I text Roberta, my wife, at the table saying, book me a flight.
What should I do?
out of Basel. And she
was like, get back home.
Get back home. If she was with me, I would have, because we had rented a caravan.
Yeah.
And I would have taken the caravan to the south of Spain, for sure. Thinking, I'll just wait it out.
Yeah.
In south of Spain, go to the beach, drink sangria.
Yeah.
That would have created a big problem, though.
Yeah.
So anyways, the reason I bring that up is that somehow for me coming to see you again in Switzerland is a bit of a full circle
Yeah.
for me. Like we're
Starting again.
starting again, closing that
And closing
loop.
the previous loop. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that sound strange? Does it feel anything like that to you for some reason? No, probably not, because you were here.
Yeah, because I was here all the time.
It's me coming back. Yeah.
Still happy to see you anyway.
Yeah.
Another time.
Yes, Jamie, I hope we get better news at dinner tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it's been an interesting time. You know, it's a lot of the development of this latter part of my career, the part that is the Boutique Guitar Showcase, has involved you the whole time.
Okay.
You were in the very first Boutique Guitar Showcase, and you were on the very first tours.
Yes.
Oh my God, the awful moment when we were robbed in San Antonio. You had a guitar stolen.
Yes, guitar stolen
Jesus.
as well.
You've been there the whole way. You've now been one of the guys who made an art installation at the NAMM Show also. And so, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and working with you so much over the last few years that I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
Me too, since the beginning when I saw you in 2014 in Berlin, and you had this talk, and I was just hearing your words about creating guitars, how to be in this business, how to improve. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly the man we needed. And I met you and I told you back then, you are like the Tony Robbins of guitar makers. And, I really...
He's got a much cooler voice than I do.
Yes.
He's got that massive...
But you're tall. And,
It's true, but I feel the pressure to drop my voice now. So I can... You mentioned that earlier today, and you know, as we drove, I was telling Roberta that I do remember someone making that comment, but I didn't know it was you because I didn't know you yet.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
And that's so fascinating to me now to tie those things together.
Yeah.
You know, there's all these moments in life where we sort of pass, and and later on you can sometimes realize it.
Reconnect the dots.
You reconnect the dots.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife and I, our mothers crossed path a number of times, didn't know each other.
Okay.
And as children, we also were in the same, we both moved a lot, but there were moments where we lived almost in the same place, where her mother was shopping at the grocery store, where my mother was working at the snack bar, you know, and such. And it's very likely as children that we actually were in the same place, but we have no idea if we ever were or not, you know. And I didn't know I met you in 2014.
Yes.
Our story is even longer than I thought it was.
Well, you saw my guitar back then, the Shen, the 10-string Shen, you saw that.
That was in 2014?
No, I think that was 2016 probably.
16.
Or 15, because then you invited me to the Boutique Guitar Showcase in 17, so it was 16.
It was 16.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so the first year, I don't think you would have noticed my guitar. They were way simpler than now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, I actually just had, there's a guitar that we had displayed in Osaka, the show we did a week or two ago now. And I came across these lovely archtop guitars in New York. And the shop, you know, showed them to me and said, wow, these are really great. I'd love to meet this guitar maker. And they put us in touch. And I spoke to him on Zoom. And we talked about doing some work together. All that's great. And very late in the conversation, you know, when I invited him to be a part of the Boutique Guitar Showcase, he said, Jamie, this makes me so happy, you know, because we first met in 2014 or something. I was like, I didn't know, actually. I was like, 2014? It's like, yeah, at the Holy Grail Guitar Show. I was across from Ken Parker. And he said, you saw my guitars, but it wasn't right. And then he said, I contacted you 2 years ago in an email. And you replied, you know, asking me, you know, saying I work with unique world-class instrument makers that are contributing something to the conversation of the guitar. If you feel this, you meet this description, please tell me how. I would love to hear about it.
Yeah.
And well, he didn't. So twice we connected, and on the third time, well, now he's at the point where like,
Yeah.
you've distinguished yourself amongst the many really great guitar makers, because there are many great guitar makers in the world.
Yeah.
There are, but to distinguish yourself in a sea of
Yes.
competent guitar makers and guitar makers, it's very difficult to do.
It is. And actually, I think you know when you're ready or not. I mean, you wish you were sometimes, but there's sometimes it happens that just you feel like, okay, now I have something to say, and you feel a little bit more confident.
Do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
When was it?
I think when I had the recognition from people outside me, when I was in Frankfurt for the first time.
Yes.
And people told me, your guitar is so unique, your guitar has something to say. I was like, really? They do? Okay, thanks. Finally, some recognition.
Yes.
And then when I did my first NAMM show by myself, another confirmation that my work was interesting. And then your invitation was another confirmation that, okay, now I think I can say something, so I really need to push myself as much as I can to be worthy of the honor.
Yeah. I remember inviting you because you had already booked a booth at NAMM, sharing with someone, I think, possibly.
No, it was myself.
No, it was all your own. Okay,
Yeah.
So you had your own booth. In the very first year, the BGS at NAMM came together very quickly, unexpectedly fast. We'd planned it for the next year, but then I had about 10 different people whom I know all tell me they're coming to NAMM for the first time, and they were in this section, that section. I was like, no, it's the wrong section. And I'd already accepted the NAMM contract to create a concept, and I said to them, I think we can do a smaller version this year because there's enough interesting people. Send me the list of who else is at the show, and we'll see who I would also think fits in this. And you were one of those people, I think, that I saw on the list, and I probably looked up and went, I saw that at the Holy Grail Guitar Show. I probably recognized, because if you'd done the Shen then, I would have remembered this guitar. And so it came together, and we offered to pull you out of the other section into there. And I remember something about you saying you were unsure, and I told you, I said, if you want to do this, stay where you are. And I really upped the stakes, because I said something along the lines, if you want to be sort of known as the master, I think I called you a master. If you want to be the master of the modern sort of, do you remember this?
Heavy metal guitar.
Something like that. Do you want to distinguish yourself as this? And if that's the case, then you want to be in the boutique guitar show. Do you remember that?
Yes, no? I remember I had no choice. That's the point.
I cornered you.
Yes, you put me in a corner. I was like, okay, I'll do as you please.
No regrets.
Not at all.
I don't regret it.
No. Grateful.
Yeah. And but that's it, to distinguish yourself. But the thing is, you don't have to distinguish yourself. There's lots of people out there who make a fine living and are leading a perfectly happy life. Because we need guitars at all different levels. Some people make them for their local market. Some people can make them within their country and have a very successful business.
Yes.
But if you want to sell on a global stage, where you're competing against literally every guitar maker alive, then you have to
have your own voice.
Yeah, to have your own voice. Yeah, for sure. And so, but I feel like you've had your own voice. Well, the moment I met you, anyways. There are people who I just met, like the other one, where I know them sometimes for many years, and then I watch them
click.
And there it is.
Yes.
And then I'm able to have that first conversation that says, now I see this is something now that we can really work with.
Yeah.
And I have to see a path through, not just validating you, because your product is a proposition. It's a proposition to the world.
Yes.
That says, I am doing this. Will you trade your money for this? And I have to be able to see that, I can think of a few people or many people who are going to really like this. And because I need you to be successful when you come to the show.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell a table.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make sure that you have a great show,
Yes.
or a great tour, or whatever it happens to be that we're doing. Hopefully a great interview, you know?
Yeah.
So that in the end, we can all keep doing this because, you know, you've had success there, and the people who come to look at your guitars and buy your guitars, they're happy with them. If it's a retailer, they buy them and sell them and make some money in the process doing it. You know, there's so many things to consider.
Well, you know, when you gave me the opportunity to create the art piece,
Yeah.
it was a surprise because I was always more toward the playability and than the art concept of the guitar. But you gave me this blank canvas, say, okay, now it's your turn to create something. I was like honored and scared because, oh, gosh, what do I create now? So I didn't want to just create something to impress, because that's not the point. And so I went inward, and I said, what do I want to do for my... I have the opportunity to create something that will probably stay in my home forever, because I'm not sure if it will sell. So what would I have in my own home that represent my inner feelings? And I don't know, so I was able to remove all the selling points of it and just create something that I felt like I can resonate with. And when I saw it in my mind, okay, I will create this monster. And I think if somebody likes it, resonates with it, as honestly as I do with it, they would buy it. And yeah, I sold it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity.
Yes.
Unexpected, totally unexpected sale.
Yeah.
But it was honest.
Yeah. That makes me so happy.
Me too.
Yes, because I think we both like new experiences, and we both like to be challenged.
Yes.
And so when you try something new, and when you accept the challenge, and then the success happens with it,
Yeah.
right? That's one of the great joys in my life, my work anyways, is providing people like yourself an opportunity to do something you might not have otherwise done.
No, ever. Yeah.
Right? To create an environment in which you can do something like that, and then have success with it,
Yeah.
is really,
Yeah.
it's a joy. I'm very uncomfortable with that kind of piece that you made.
Okay, good. I mean, it works.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yeah, and I find that very, very interesting. You know, there's Adriano Sergio of Aragon Guitars. You know Adriano. He's a big fan of Giacometti. Giacometti, is that right? There's these long sculptures that look
Yes,
haunted
Giacometti.
souls.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying the
No,
Italian name
no
wrong.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and they make me uncomfortable also. And there's times, but my natural response to being uncomfortable is figure it out, get over it.
Yes.
And so I need to push into it. But there are people who love these areas that I am uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
There's a movie Chocolat, which was very famous about 20 years ago or something of the sort. And there's a young boy in the film in this French town 100 years ago at this point in time, and he's drawing grotesque, drawing rotting corpses and blood and ghoul and such. And his mother thinks there's something very wrong with him. He should be ashamed of this. And the grandmother gives him a book of poetry of gross and gory sorts of things, and she also likes it, you know. But there's something about that I don't fully understand or fully embrace, even though I was a big fan of Iron Maiden and such when I was young, and Eddie and the album covers were always kind of gross, and that got more so in the metal thing. But you love fantasy stuff, you like the metal stuff, which tends to really dance on the edge of this
Yeah.
morbidity and...
Yeah, it's more like, sometimes it's like you have moment of tension and unresolvedness, something that cannot be resolved. And you need to dance between those moments, and you need to keep going in the tension. You need to be on the edge, and sometimes the darker the matter, the higher the tension, the challenging it is for you to keep going. So it's like a balance fight, and I like that. It's like, if everything is peaceful, it's wonderful for 5 minutes. After a while, you want something more that pushes your boundaries a little bit more. And in that, as you said, in that grotesque, dark, you are constantly pushed. And as you said, you want to resolve it, right? I wanted to resolve it too. But I need that to resolve. So it's like a reminder for you to resolve and to keep yourself on the edge, to enjoy the peaceful, just because you contrast it with the horrendous, I guess. I find no peace in the horrendous.
Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop is your premier fretted instrument custom case maker, and we invite you to create a musical instrument case unlike any other, one that's unique to you. Every Cedar Creek custom case is hand-built by highly skilled craftspeople using only select woods, Providence Forge hardware, and premium instrument-friendly materials. At Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop, we are dedicated to helping you design the case of your dreams. Find out more at cedarcreekcases.com.
Okay. But you seem to live closer to it than I do.
Probably, yeah.
That said, one of my favorite films is Kill Bill, Quentin Tarantino. In fact, I'm wearing Kill Bill-inspired shoes right now. These are what Uma Thurman wore on the front cover, and that's why I'm wearing them. I'm wearing them because of my love of this film and the connection to it. But the movie is very uncomfortable for me.
Okay, never saw it.
You've never seen it?
No.
So it's all sorts of gore and uncomfortable things, but it's also, the basic plot of the film is two of the world's most deadly assassins fell in love, and then something went wrong. And when things go wrong between two deadly assassins, things go horribly wrong.
Yeah, I bet.
And so you think that the movie is this bloody revenge story. And it is. But there's this twist at the end where you come to realize that they're both actually acting because of their love.
Okay.
And it's this fascinating little moment where, I'm going to ruin this. Spoiler alert for anybody. Turn it off now if you want to watch Kill Bill.
Okay.
But it's a kung fu movie. And there's the final moment where you know that only one of them is leaving the room. And he makes the first move and goes to cut off her head. And she takes the sheath and she sheaths his sword in the moment, and then performs a 5-point palm exploding heart technique on him.
Okay.
Which their shared master, he was her master and took her to his master. And this was a technique that he knew about that his master would never teach him. But he taught her.
I see.
And then she breaks his fucking heart with the move that the master never trusted him with.
Yes.
And there's this, he stops knowing he's been beaten, and he goes, Pai Mei taught you? And she's like, yes, he did.
I did.
And he's like, And he's even more in love with her.
Yeah.
Because she's just one.
Yeah.
Right? And he knows, so that in this move, you're fine until you try and take 5 steps. You walk and you take 5 steps, and he knows, and he stands up and 5 steps.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's gone.
Gone. Okay.
And so the movie is actually really beautiful, but full of killing and the horrific things that humans do to each other, and somehow in the name of love at the same time. And this makes, I'm really romantic about the movie. Actually, me and my daughter love watching the movie together, which is a very strange father-daughter. I think it's a strange father-daughter thing to do. But it's one of our things that we love watching this film together.
Lovely.
But I am not comfortable with it.
Okay.
At all. But I am. And we push ourselves through it. But I'm fascinated with your perspective on the matter. Help me understand what you said a moment ago. Help me understand that you
maybe I already say too much. I don't know.
No. I want to go deeper, Giulio.
I'm already regretting all of it. So.
We can stop. If
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You're on the edge.
Yes, I'm on the edge. Yeah. No, I love it. And I don't know. There is something, when you even read the Lord of the Rings book, it's not supposed to be a dark book, but the darkness is in there. And the way Sauron, or even before Morgoth, create this huge evil, it is fascinating, not in the way that I want to be part of the evil, but it's fascinating to watch all this immense power. And when you are reading a book, you can be whomever character you wanted to be. So one time you are Frodo, one time you're Sam, and one time you're Sauron.
Yeah.
Or Saruman. And when I feel the power that Sauron has and the terror that he shadows the Arda, the world with, I admire that. Not in an evil manner, but in a when you look something beautiful, like a beautiful sunset, it is beautiful. You don't need to explain it. Everybody knows that. The way the sun colors the clouds, it is beautiful. And I think it's beautiful also the deepest dark in the same way, which doesn't mean I prefer one to the other. They are both beautiful in the amount of energy that they have. So sometimes it's darkness, another time it's sunset. So that's the way I prefer to explain it.
I think maybe there's a trust that you have somehow that you'll get through it.
Yeah, sure.
So I tend not to listen to very melancholic music because I am naturally melancholic. I'm an artist.
Yeah.
Right? And most artists have a good amount of melancholy in us, right?
Yeah.
And so I tend to listen to music which is the opposite. It brings an equilibrium to me. And it's partly because I'll go there.
Yeah.
I can go away and I love being sad.
Yes.
I like crying.
Yeah, it's so comforting, right?
Yes. And I don't want to go all the way in there.
Okay.
And also I'm aware of this evil, this touch of the ring, right? In Lord of the Rings, there's all these characters which are these noble, wonderful, powerful characters.
Yes.
Who get to just touch the ring for a moment.
Yeah.
And they realize, fuck, no. You, Frodo. It's got to be you.
It's too much.
It's too much. I can't do it. And there are these moments that we all have. They're that sort of touch of the ring where you realize, oh no, I could be real. I could be awful.
Okay.
But I'm actively not being awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's part of it. And I think that often humans, I don't know why I'm going to describe humans, but often humans don't like to recognize their bad side, their dark side. everyone thinks in Nazi Germany that they would have been the person saving people, breaking the rules. But statistically speaking, almost everyone is someone who conformed and sold out someone else.
Yes.
Right? But everyone wants to believe they're the good guy, never the one doing the wrong thing. And, I recently had a conversation with a young person who was choosing to be a vegan for moral reasons. And I applaud them in choosing to be a vegan for moral reasons.
Yeah.
But actually, one of the things that I think is admittedly unhealthy about this is I think it's willfully self-deceptive, because I think it refuses to acknowledge that we're killers.
Yes. All nature is killers.
Yes.
Watch a documentary, everybody's killing everybody else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and not just humans. I mean, every creature out there is... Trees.
Kill each other. So it's a constant fight for all living things.
Yeah. And there's the reality is that there's... Actually, I think that they found one vegan tribe in the 1970s. But they lived in a very specific spot of the world where you could actually harvest fruit and
so
such all year. But it's virtually impossible for us to live in the north where we live without fire and meat, basically. And
fish.
And it's so I think we're not being honest with ourselves with this. I think it's healthier to acknowledge that we have the capacity for evil.
Yes.
And choose not to be.
Yeah.
Than it is to think that we're just not evil.
Yeah.
Then that's much more dangerous.
Yeah, and killing animals may be seen as evil or may be seen as normal, natural. Yeah. And you don't necessarily think of yourself as evil if you kill an animal. Right. It depends on from the perspective.
Right.
Maybe this vegan is way more evil than us because the way she or he thinks about killing an animal is mean. So in that case, yes, it's evil. In my case, which I do not attach a moral reason, I think I'm less evil in that concern.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this starts to ride the line of fantasy, which is a lovely little transition point for you and me, because I think that fantasy is central to who you are in your development as a person and your work as well. All of your guitars bear names from the fantasy realm with Lord of the Rings and such. And I just came from Osaka, Japan. Last weekend I was there. And we happened to arrive 1 week before when Comic-Con was on, directly across from our hotel.
Yeah, cool.
And we traveled through this mall office building sort of space, and there were 20 photographers. Each photographer had one Japanese person dressed up as some sort of anime, manga sort of character. I've never personally been into it, and I'm so old. I recognize one person as Sailor Moon. I don't know any other character, and Sailor Moon must be very old now. But anyways, one of the things that fascinated me about the Japanese culture is that they're very quiet. They have a lot of deference, a lot of respect for each other. In the streets, almost everybody is wearing very much the same sort of thing, a very limited color palette. There's a few people who are really out there, but more conformity than I've seen in almost any other culture I've been to. I've been in 27 countries, and so that's compared to another 26 countries or so. And they seem to have also... So in socially, there's this this really high conformity, but then you look at their advertising and you look at their books and their movies, and there's so much fantasy. They live it out in this two spaces, and I don't know how much of that sort of cosplay, role-playing, fantasy sort of thing exists within my own life. I might be self-deceptive. I don't know, but it's become more and more acceptable. It's become more and more normal within global culture, and I think that you might be able to tell me some things about it that I might help understand. And so you actively live this out through your guitars and through your work. And so what do you think the role of fantasy is in culture, and why do you think it's growing so much?
I don't know what it is in culture. I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
And for me, it's inspiration. I mean, going totally out of the reality you're living and being way more powerful than you are. And so you can feel emotion that you don't feel in your reality. And we are emotional beings. So it gets addicted, you know, when you can create a ball of fire to throw away. I mean, how do you compare that with real life?
Right.
So yeah, maybe it can be related with some video games, but it's not the same. Books, you are imagining things, you are viewing things in your own brain and mind. So when it happens to create guitars, I want the guitars to be like the weapon of a of a fantasy creature. So that's why the shape, the colors, and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's a different reality in the reality. So it's inspiration and yeah, different emotions.
So you have used fantasy with a level of agency that I'm not sure is so common. Meaning you have taken this fantasy realm and made real things and made a living doing things with it. And your guitars are not total fantasy; they're inspired by fantasy.
Exactly,
They're highly well-tuned, great performing musical instruments.
Yes.
So let's make that very, very clear.
Yeah.
Your guitars are not comic versions of guitars. I think you're one of the best guitar makers in the world.
Thank you.
I think that your dedication to your craft and that pursuit of perfection that you have means that every time I see you, your guitars are somehow better, and I thought they were already pretty close to perfect the last time I saw them.
Thanks so much.
And so maybe that's that superhero part of it. You know?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
But we have a lot of people who are saying within Western culture anyways that this living out the fantasies, whether through video games, reading, whatever it happens to be, is somehow harming people, where they live out one reality and come to the real world and they're depressed and honestly suicidal and such. We have a real problem currently in the Western world, especially with young men who are not, I don't know, they seem to have lost hope in many ways.
Okay.
And so you act out and you make something useful with it. Do you think there's something different about you that has you giving a practical life and able to make your living drawing on that inspiration, which is different than other people? And if you do, what do you think that might be? Or what's the key to that? What's the key to taking your inspiration and then honestly being useful with it in some way? Useful to society in a way where they can engage and you can become part of the commerce and economics so that you can feed yourself and such.
I think it's more like a puzzle. Everything is in a puzzle. So yeah, there is this fantasy side, or a cake. Imagine a cake with different slices. So fantasy is one slice of what I'm doing. The biggest part is the guitar playing thing, the obsession, the love and seduction I had with the guitar itself. So when I started creating guitars, I put firstly the guitar playing things into it, and then I added the decoration was the fantasy part of it. It's not just one side. And then there is life experience that goes into that as well, and the desire of learning, curiosity with the guitar. I mean, I've made almost 300 guitars now. I still don't know what makes the guitar sound good or not. I mean, I can make good guitars, but even if I use the same patterns, it's not the same result. So I'm struggling and waiting. Every single pieces I'm trying to combine different glues, I still want to reach on higher level. So this huge hole I need to feed of curiosity about this object, this magical object. Back to fantasy, for me it's magical, is the main piece of the cake. And then there is the other part of it. So if somebody has a whole cake made of fantasy, I can see why they can lose contact with reality and get a bit lost. But for me, it was a huge influences: classical, modern, guitars, fantasy, skating. Everything was in there to give me a safe spot to stand on without falling too down.
Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop is your premier fretted instrument custom case maker, and we invite you to create a musical instrument case unlike any other, one that's unique to you. Every Cedar Creek custom case is hand-built by highly skilled craftspeople using only select woods, Providence Forge hardware, and premium instrument-friendly materials. At Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop, we are dedicated to helping you design the case of your dreams. Find out more at cedarcreekcases.com.
There's a balance to that.
Yeah.
I'm contemplating your use of magic while trying to understand in a very real kind of way. And that it's been my experience that many artisans they need it to remain magical. They do not want to look behind the curtain.
Yes.
I've been touring around the world and asking guitar makers to describe their own instruments. And there's a number of times where I've had guitar makers describe for 1 hour or talk about for 1 hour and basically refusing to describe because they need to remain indescribable.
Yeah.
Somehow in their minds, and that I'm asking an unreasonable thing, or I'm trying to be too, I don't know. They want it to be esoteric in some way. And so how do you balance this? How can you call something magical and then wanting to understand it more? Can you keep it magical and scientific? Or am I stretching it by saying scientific in the way that you want to understand it?
Yeah. Well, sometimes the same guitar can play awesome for me and kind of normal for somebody else. So there is also the individual subjective experience with it. And I like to feed into my own subjective experience, and if somebody wants to hop along, we are on the same line. So, like to temperament frets, per se. It is magical too for me. The way the chords rings on all the notes, all over the fret, for me it's incredibly peaceful, finally. No, I say when the notes go...
Dissonance.
No dissonance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful, but somebody else doesn't hear the difference. So we are not relating here. And so this makes the whole thing magical by itself. Even if you want to go as specific and scientific as you want, there is this barrier.
Yeah.
And when I make guitars, I trust my instinct to combine things and to in the way I work. And even if I can measure everything, I try to measure everything. There is a part of instinct that makes me choose one piece of wood compared to another, and that's unexplainable as well. And I don't know why, if one guitar is more difficult than others to make, like I need to sand it twice, the paint goes bad, I need to make it again, and the fret. If I finally break the code with that one, it sounds amazing. I don't know why it always happens. The harder the guitar, the better the tone in the end.
Yeah.
So I don't balance between magical and scientific. I try as much as I can within the boundaries of what is measurable, and within the boundaries of my own mistakes as well.
You touched on perception there. You touched on the idea that it can be wonderful for you and then maybe not for someone else, and you don't necessarily know why. People are different. They have a different approach to the guitar, different attack. Sometimes it's really extreme. And I've actually watched it where I've put the same guitar, same amplifier. When I owned a retail store and we had a music school, a bunch of really great guitar players who taught for us, and I'd have 3 or 4 of them play this, and I was like, this guitar is amazing. You got to check out this guitar. And then the 5th person sat down and they started playing, and I went, I walked up to the guitar, made sure the volume's at the tone, listened to it. The amplifier settings haven't changed.
Yes.
Like what
happened?
What's happening? It's that person. And that person also owned and played a bunch of guitars, which I always thought, why is he playing those guitars? Like, I never quite understood. I realized, I don't know whether it was the physical mass of the person, the size, pretty skinny fingers. I don't know what it was, but I literally watched like 5 people play the exact same setup, and they all had their own style, they all had their own character. But one person sits down, and all of a sudden it just sounds bad. Like, what's happening? And they were a good musician.
Yes.
They were not a bad musician. Just the tone all of a sudden changed.
Does it ever happen to you that you are listening by yourself, you discover a new piece of music?
Yes.
And you say, oh my God, this is awesome. This is so good, this is fantastic. Oh wow, the chorus now, oh, it's glorious. And then you go to somebody else and say, hey, listen to this piece, it's so good.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't sound that good. Because you are with the other person, and they say, but wait, now it gets better. Now it gets better. And now it does.
Better. Yes.
But the first time you heard it by yourself, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you hear it with somebody else, it doesn't, because you're in a different state.
Yes.
And the other person has a different energy, and you don't relate anymore with the same.
And I remember the same thing with like stand-up comedy routines when YouTube first became a thing. You'd like be laughing your ass off. You and your family watching this thing. You would show someone else, hey, we'll watch this. And, like it gets better. It gets awkward. Yes, and so. Yeah, but perception to me is really important. I've been thinking a great deal about this perception. I think I mentioned it to you the other day that I've been thinking a lot about sound and refining it to simple terms, and I have it down as, and one of the 3 terms is perception, because I realize that actually, I think Ólafur Elíasson did this great experiment with a rainbow. Where so Ólafur Elíasson is a experiential sort of artist, and one of the things he did at one point in time, quite some time ago now, is he did an art installation of a rainbow. So, I want to make a rainbow. How do I make a rainbow? And to make a rainbow, you need 3 things. You need misting water, right? It has to be in misting form.
Yes.
And you need light. And the light has to triangulate, and that 3rd part is an eyeball. To perceive it.
Yes.
And actually, because it's a triangulation, it's a refraction of the light off the water, that actually if you and I were standing side by side, we both would see a rainbow, but we actually wouldn't see the same rainbow because we're not at the exact same point of trajectory. And he said, and so actually, because this rainbow requires 3 things, if there's nobody in the room,
There's no rainbow.
There is no rainbow. It's just water and light.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds obvious, but also when you stop and really think about it for a second, that perception is one of those things. And so that is absolutely necessary. And when it comes to listening to music and feeling a guitar, I remember years ago, you and I were together at a summer NAMM show, and I told you, for whatever reason, I was checking guitars, and you were like, play it. And I touched them both. I put my hand in the neck pocket and plucked the A string, which is something that I do.
Yes.
And I described both your guitars to you. And that's just because I'm attuned enough to the vibrations in my fingers, and I've experienced enough where I can say, oh, this guitar is a more open sound, it has a wider frequency range, this guitar here is tighter, faster, it's got a more powerful mid-range, this one's here, hit the pick more, it's more articulate, this one's probably better chords, this one's great on shredding, and I said, what do you think? You're like, you're right. That's perception.
Yeah.
But not everybody has had the experience, or maybe doesn't have the same sensibility,
maybe,
whatever it is, to be able to perceive it the same way. And that's, I mean, if you're trying to make sure everyone has a great experience, I guess that could be frustrating.
Yeah.
But it's also wonderful. I guess it's a little magical.
It is, again.
That way.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things I love about the variety of things that we get to do, is taking 50 or 100 guitars to different cultures and different places at different days.
Right.
And I don't say, you have to try this one or that one. We go open-handedly, like, what do you think?
Go?
what do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
You like it? And
Yeah.
And I love to see people's responses on them, particularly when they have an experience that they weren't expecting, or they were determined in their mind that they were not going to like this thing, and then they, then they had sometimes a life-changing moment, an interaction that shifts reality, shifts perception.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, we have a saying in Italy: the one who criticizes is the one that in the end will buy.
Oh, yes?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Where do you think that comes from?
I have an idea. Experience, probably.
That's a good answer. Yeah. Yes. Experience, probably. Yeah. Well, Giulio, I've enjoyed our conversation.
Me too.
Sadly, it always must come to an end.
Okay.
But thank you for being on Life with Strings Attached.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us here in your workshop and here in your country, in Switzerland.
You have to think of it. Italy, it's Italy.
Well, I thought when I call it your country, so is he going to agree with that? Is he going to say, this is not my country, this is where I live, or I don't know.
Yeah,
You're definitely,
I don't know either.
You distinguish yourself as Italian master.
Yeah, Swiss made by Italian.
Swiss made by Italian master.
Yeah. I like both.
Like both. Yeah. And so,
thank you. Thank you for inviting me and for all you do since the beginning. It's my honor and pleasure, increasing pleasure, being with you, being part of your Boutique Guitar Showcase and everything else you do.
Yeah. Well, is there, in a last moment, was there something that if I were a better interviewer I would have asked you that I didn't? Is there something you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover?
No, I think we have always material for the next time. So yeah, for now it's okay, I guess.
Right.
Very okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. Till
Thank
next
you.
time.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Ciao. Okay.
Thank you for watching and listening. You can find more episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts. And a special thanks to those who support us on Patreon. It's your support that enables us to do this work.